This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And today we are going to be talking about Carmelo Anthony returning to the NBA. Then we're going to jump into a little bit of Wet Boys. Then we're going to be talking about James Harden. And then we're going to wrap it up with some Timberwolves talk. We're super excited to talk to you today. We're super excited that you joined us, whether it be on Patreon.com, or not Patreon.com, YouTube.com, whether it be on Blog Talk Radio, whether it be on Stitcher, whether it be on iTunes. Wherever you may join us, we are thankful that you are joining us. And if you do want to help us out, even though you're joining us, check out Patreon.com/MostValuablePodcast. You can become a patron. At the $1 tier, you'll be able to join our very active Discord, and we do live watch-alongs. Did you guys do one this week?
We did for the New York Knicks versus Bulls this week.
How'd it go?
Pretty good, actually.
Nice.
We had, I think, 5-6 people in there. I had to kick Jake off of Discord for being you, basically.
Yeah.
And, he got invited back in.
So what was the reaction with the Kobe White?
Dude.
Like, pop-off?
It was fire. But to be honest with you, I was a little disappointed that Ricky did not join because I was like, oh, this is great. We can have Ricky here. And then it's like, we get the Ricky thoughts during the game. And I was like, we were going to figure out a way to do the Ricky thoughts in Discord one episode. Mm-hmm. I want to get like a group one where it's like we can all like pitch in. Mm-hmm. We'll figure that out in a bit. But yeah, it's exciting. It's a good time.
It's super easy, barely an inconvenience.
If you want to join one of Dave's watch-alongs, check out patreon.com/MostValuablePodcast.
You guys are invited.
Dave's NBA watch-alongs.
I've been working.
Yeah.
You have the prime,
I have a normal schedule.
You have the prime schedule of just working. You work 9 to 5 pretty much, right?
About 7 to 4.
7 to 4. You work a normal schedel though.
Yep.
So you have your nights to yourself, and I don't. But anyways, I'm not upset with that. I like my job. But anyways, check out patreon.com/MostValuablePodcast. Let's talk about Carmelo Anthony. He just signed a 1-year deal with the Portland Trailblazers. It is non-guaranteed. He will be having a physical soon. Woj is reporting that it could come as soon as Saturday. However, he isn't expected to make his Portland Trailblazers debut until Tuesday's game of the against the Pelicans at the earliest. So he won't be able to play the Rockets on Monday, which is a little bit of a disappointment because, obviously that was the last team he played for. You get the revenge game angle, and also it would just be fun to see him play defense against that fast team.
Hell yeah.
But you do get a revenge game coming up soon, and this is just a joke, and then we'll get to the actual podcast part. Monday, November 25th. He goes up against the Bulls. So, massive revenge game there. We get a 3-game stretch. Bulls, OKC, and Bulls again. Oh. It is a 3-game, 3-headed monster of revenge games. We'll talk about if he will even be on the team by then. Maybe he doesn't even get 4 games with the Portland Trailblazers.
Jesus.
But let's jump into it. He's expected to likely make his debut on the 19th. They make this addition because, Dave?
Injuries?
Mario Hezonja sucks. They don't have a power forward. Their power forward position's been thin. Farouk Amino leaving. Mo Harkless being traded to the Clippers. And, they signed Mario Hezonja trying to take a flyer, and it just has not worked out. That's why one of my hot takes was that they're going to go trade for Blake Griffin because they need a 4.
They also have injuries.
But they don't have anyone good even when anyone's healthy there. Mm-hmm. Who's healthy on that team? When healthy on that team, who is good? Mario Hezonja is not a good basketball player.
Who is their starting 4 who's really a 5, but, because he's so thin.
Nurkic and Collins.
Yeah, it was Zach Collins.
Yeah, Nurkic is injured.
It was Zach Collins was their 4 to start the season, but then he got hurt. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Mario Hezonja was basically a 2 playing a 4, and then at times he's a point guard. So, no, he shouldn't be down there banging with 4s. It's just he has the athleticism to get there at times. But, I agree. They needed someone to play wing for them. They've been scratching deep. They even gave Nasir Little time, which... that showed a lot because you knew you need when you're so desperate you let Nasir Little play for a game and you're like, we really need Carmelo Anthony on this team.
When you're so desperate and you're giving Scale Labissiere a run.
Scale looked weirdly good out there.
Scale always looks
he can't body defense though.
He's a guy that has the ability to look good, but he looks good in a uniform. I think I've heard that before. He looks good in a uniform, but that's about it. He has his moments. He's super athletic. He was like the first player in his high school class, right? Or like at least top 5.
He was.
He was a huge recruit coming out of high school. So I mean, but he hasn't turned it into anything. Let's not talk about Scalabissier.
This is a Scalabissier episode, is it not?
No. Carmelo Anthony now coming back. He was with the Rockets last year. Played 10 games with them. Ricky, what I want to ask you is, do you think it will last longer or shorter than that stint with the Houston Rockets? How long will Melo be a Blazer for?
You know what? I would like to come on the podcast and say, like, oh, Melo's going to finish out the year with them. He's going to be a big piece of this team. But, like, to me, I feel like with the Melo signing, it's all about what your expectation is. If your expectation is to see New York Knicks Carmelo Anthony, you're going to be disappointed. If your expectation is to see anything better than what we saw the last, 3 years with Carmelo Anthony, or about the same, then you won't be disappointed with Carmelo Anthony. To where I am on the other side of this. When I saw this, I was like, like I wasn't hyped about it because Carmelo Anthony hasn't been what we're used to Carmelo Anthony being for quite some time. And I know there's people out there that are going to say, that's okay, and they're going to use the word role change, but is Melo finally okay with the role change? Because I felt like that's been another piece to this problem where Melo up here wants to be the Melo of old, but as you get older, it's like, he's 35 now? You're not going to be the Melo of old. So, I mean, will it work? I would like to think so. I'm not super optimistic, though, and I don't think it will. I'll say he's there for most of the season. I don't know when he gets kicked off, but he won't be there the whole season.
Whoa. See, I think he will be there the whole season. I think this is Melo's last-ditch effort in the NBA. And I know Rachel Nichols gave like a short thing on like Melo's taking this very seriously this time. Like it's very much a like reality check for him at the end of last year when, he was constantly proposing, hey guys, I can play for a contender. Like I'm well rested, I'm still in shape. I can come back for a team after the Bulls dropped him, and no one else really was interested in him. I think that was his reality check. And this year he came in, he worked out all offseason. He looks like he's in decent shape. And I think this is it. This is his do or die moment for the NBA. Like we know your legacy as a player has been, you were in the same draft as one of the greatest players of all time. You need to go ahead and stand up. You were a great scorer, like not an all-time scorer, but you were a very good scorer in your prime. Right now, you have to prove you're more than a chucker. You have to prove that you can be a team player. You have to prove that you provide value to a team that wants to win games still. And I look at this team and I'm like, this is a perfect fit for him because they are desperate for a starting wing out there, which he walks right in. He doesn't have to argue with the whole bench roll. That shit's not even a conversation on this team. So problem number 1 is gone right away. You don't have to deal with that ego check of sit your ass on the pine. You're not one of the 5 best players on this team. It's great for him. And then after that, you go, okay, well, scoring-wise, Dame's a better scorer than you. You know that. CJ's a better scorer than you. You know that. But there are still at least, 15 shots a game that are up for grabs. And I think that's a number that's going to resonate really well with him because he loves to chuck the goddamn ball. Like, whatever you want to say about him, when the ball hits his hands, Carmelo Anthony, the long two is his, he can't resist that shot. But I really think that, like, offensively, this will fit really well for him. If he takes it seriously, because this is his last chance.
But the question I have is when those guys come back, how is that going to work out? When the guys who are injured come back and it's like, okay, we're going to start Zach Collins, we're going to start Nurkic.
Nurkic would be a 5.
Well, it would be a 5, but I mean, like, when those guys come back, that's going to create the logjam, and Melo's going to be the odd man out, right?
Well, if Carmelo plays well without, when they're away, I could very well see a scenario that Zach Collins just goes back to the bench and he spells Nurkic and he doesn't play the 4. I don't think he's really that great of a fit at the 4 anyways. So, I mean, if he works out there, I could see him winning the job. But I think the biggest thing with Melo is I just think he's washed. Like, I think this is just AI, what AI happened with AI. Yeah. AI played 82 games and then just fell off a cliff. Carmelo, same thing happened. Carmelo is a very good spot-up shooter. But we still know the issue with Carmelo Anthony, and it's his lack of defense, and his lack of effort off ball. It's his lack of effort when he doesn't have the ball. Carmelo can still put up like 15 a game. That's fine, but how efficiently are you doing it? How are you helping the team? And I don't know if he is a net positive anymore. And I think last year throughout those 10 games, he was like a negative 2.1 wins per added or something like that, or value added. He was horrible with the Rockets last year, and I don't think that's going to change. He still has been a bad defender. On one of the best defensive teams that we've seen in a little bit, that 2017-2018 OKC team, he was 5th worst when it comes to defensive rating, and he was behind Nick Collison, who played 75 minutes, Kyle Slinger, who played 59 minutes, then Terrence Ferguson, who was 19 years old and didn't know anything about the NBA, and then Alex Abrinas, who played half the minutes that Carmelo did, and he was only 1 rating higher than him. He was pretty much the worst defender on that OKC team, and every time he was out there, he just dragged down the defensive rating of everybody else, because that was a very good defensive team when you had Steven Adams, Andre Roberson, Paul George, Russ out there. He dragged down
that was
that
the thought,
team.
Was you had guys out there who are defenders, so you can afford to play Carmelo. Obviously, it didn't work out that way for them when it hit playoffs time, and they're like, yeah, you're going to stay on the bench right now. We have a better shot with you not playing in this game.
I don't think this is the answer that they're looking for. I don't know if it's going to be... I don't know if it's going to be...
Well, here's the thing. They got put into a situation because of injuries. Had this team had a healthy Whiteside, had they had a healthy Zach...
But they've been in touch with him preseason as well.
And yeah, that's because they've had this hole in at their wing position for the whole...
No, but what I'm saying is this is something that they've thought about pre-injury as well.
Right. I just feel like these injuries have kind of forced their hand because they need someone who can step up and get them buckets, and that is still something that I think he's very capable of doing.
I don't know if they need to get him to get him buckets.
Dame's had multiple standout games,
and
it can't happen because Dame can't play 44 minutes a game.
They're scoring 112 a game. And yes, that is because of Dame's great scoring. But I think what they need is more of a defender. They need a 3-and-D player. And everyone has had the hope that Carmelo's going to be able to do that. When was the last time Carmelo was a very good defender? I think if at any point
his
it had to at least be 7 years ago.
Minus, the only time he wasn't negative
that's not
was
good.
2011, 2012 for his defense. Yeah, he was a 0. He was a net rating 0.
That's the only time in his career?
Correct. He was not negative on defense, box plus minus.
Was that one of the years he was hurt?
No, that was the short year. That was the 55-game year, I think, right?
Okay. I don't know.
2011, 2012 season.
His
was that the lockout year?
I think so.
It was not. No. He was inactive. He didn't dress for some of those games.
It was a 66-game season. That was it. Yeah. Okay. He played 55.
So yeah. I just think that he is not the answer that they need at that position, and I just would think that a reason that he might stay on the team is because it is non-guaranteed, and that might just let him, last on that team because it's not that expensive of a contract. Mm-hmm. So maybe there isn't a reason to cut his bait because of the contract situation.
Yeah.
However, I would rather give this playing time to a guy like Nasir Little because he is younger, he is athletic, we know he can play defense. He can't score, which is an issue.
Yeah.
But I would rather, give him that rub and see if he could actually latch onto something. And we've seen that he's been able to score before in college, and he is just young, so maybe he just needs playing time and time to grow into a role.
Is this a team that can afford to do that, though? They're looking at,
they're
this
4-8 right now.
Had the aspirations of being a playoff team that could take a run because, again, we looked at them the last couple of years. Everybody wants to, play them down and say, oh, they're not really that good, but year over year they keep surprising us and hitting that mark, getting to the playoffs, looking decent in the playoffs, except for that one series where I crapped on them all over for the Pelican series. But after that, they've absolutely hit, and I think that they know with Nurkic, CJ, and Dame that they got a shot against just about anybody out there. So they really, I don't know that you can take the time to develop someone like Nasir Little if he's in that timeline. Yes, he's a great asset defensively. He's a great piece that if he gets the experience out there, there's a chance he can contribute. But it's not like he's someone who's going to be viable come playoff time, or you would expect to count on him during the playoffs.
Well, and the thing that I've been thinking about, it goes back to, I do agree with you, Sean. I would probably give the minutes to Nasir also, only because of even if he's not perfect game one, he's a younger player. You're hopefully going to mold him into what you want him to be. But it was something you said, Dave, where you said Rachel Nichols did a piece of he really wants it this time, and he's trying to prove to teams that he's changed. It almost reminds me of like that kid, and think back to high school, that kid in high school where whether it's basketball, whether it's book smarts, anything, can get by on just natural ability. Like, wow, they're just really fucking good at this. And then when they get to college, it's like, oh shit, I don't have the work ethic to get this done. And then they struggle throughout college and they eventually get it done. But I mean, that's what I was like, you can't teach the want. You can't teach the, hey, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be for the team. And Melo, and through his whole career, I've never seen him as a for the team guy. He's been a Melo guy. Like, does Melo get his points? Yeah, Melo got his points. He's happy. And you can't change that. You can't change a mentality.
In Houston, I don't think that he was just a Melo guy. I just don't think he was good enough.
He wasn't a fit for their team. He wasn't a fit for their style.
I mean, age also plays into it. Not everyone's LeBron James.
I think he would have fit into that team. I'm sorry. I think he would have wanted to work on that team. Oh, yeah. I just don't think he was the right fit. And with that, I just don't think he's good anymore. Like, there is a time that you're done with. Yeah. And he still can shoot the ball. You don't really lose the stroke, and you lose some muscle. You lose the ability to hit that consistently. You don't lose the stroke. Yeah, and Carmelo's always got a sweet stroke. But I think the biggest issue is I just don't think the athleticism's there. I don't think the skill is there anymore. I don't think the deception's there anymore. I don't think his ability to have a multi-layered game is there anymore. There is probably not the ability to have that post-up game. There isn't that ability to have a game that is based on him driving. It is basically Melo is now a spot-up shooter. So you're just going to have a more high-profile named Anthony Tolliver on your team. And you already do. I mean, Anthony Tolliver is a very good three-point shooter. And that's what they're hoping him to be, as a guy that can eat up minutes and shoot from the outside. Is that not true, Dave? You want a guy that can shoot from the outside.
I know, but saying Carmelo Anthony is a better Anthony Tolliver is painful to say out loud.
And that's the thing I went into. What's your expectation? If that's your expectation, what Sean just said, then you might not be disappointed. Where if I feel like your expectations are closer to where like you remember what Carmelo could be, and you let that kind of like I want to kind of use the word jade, but I don't even think that's the right word to use. Where it's like, he's not going to be the same Carmelo Anthony that we remember him being.
Like if I told you what
Anthony Tolliver shooting 24% from three.
Yeah, but
I know
in his
career
he's a 37% 3-point shooter.
The last 5 years he's been
so fine. Like if I told you that he was going to have Anthony Tolliver's 2017-2018 year, where he shot 43% from three and scored 9 points per game for them, I think it'd be successful Melo year.
That I would be shocked if Melo could shoot that well from three. He can't.
Or here, let's say that
I'm going to give you just a guess of my stat line for Melo. He's going to put up like 13 points a game, 4 boards, and shoot like 44, 34, like
44 is high. He hasn't done that since 2014, 2015.
I think he's going to play closer inside. That's why. Right now, I think they're going to use him because he is a little bit bigger. He is a little bit slower. I think they're going to hopefully count on him to be inside more. And you said he might not have the post moves anymore, but I'm like, he's still coming around with it. I feel like he's crafty enough. I feel like maybe he can get there.
I wouldn't be shocked if he did shoot 40% from three, or like if he hit that number, just because he is a very good spot up shooter. He has hit that before. And if he's not creating as much as he was, usual. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could see him hitting 40%. If he's getting open looks, he's going to hit them.
Yeah. And they have
I think he's just going to. I think we're going to see more of a drop off than even Houston too. I mean, he was only getting. I mean, he was getting 29 minutes a game. I don't know if they're going to do that. They might use him in less spurts. I think he'll probably get 25 minutes a game. I think he'll shoot better than he has in the past 2 years. I think he'll probably be around like 41%.
Yeah.
And then better than he did.
I mean, the OKC year is kind of. Like, again, similar situation. You come in to a team with 2 very high-profile stars in the team. I don't. CJ's not a star on the same level as Paul George is, but like I feel like the profile is set for him to be a similar role to what he did in OKC. But I'm hoping that he can be more successful at it because of this team's offense and the fact that they have a better head coach and they have different pieces for depth. Like, they don't have the wing depth to take him out of a lot of situations. They're going to have interesting lineups because they have no center depth right now because everyone's hurt. So, like, we're going to see some weird lineups with him out there, but I think he's going to get the minutes. I think he's going to be over 25 a night. I think like 25 minutes a night. I think he's going to be close to that 30 number.
One thing that helps him, or one thing that I would think would help him would just be passes. Like, how many passes are you making per game? Last year on the team that he was on, Houston, they were the second had the second least amount of passes. Because pretty much it was pass, get open, and they were just trying to beat.
It was one James Harden pass.
Yeah, and even when they were passing, it was trying to at least, like, it was either in transition where it was just catch and shoot right when you get it, or off of James Harden ISO, or Chris Paul passing it, and whenever Chris Paul's passing it, usually opening. The biggest thing that I think is hurting them is right now Portland is below Houston right now when it comes to passes. And that is because Dame has been having a ton of usage, a ton of ISO usage as well. So that could be playing a factor into it. But if we go back to last year, Portland was not that high up either. They were 3 teams above Houston. They were averaging about 40 more passes per game than Houston was. But I could see this being a very similar situation to Houston last year. I don't think it's going to be that much of a drastic change, and I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't last 10 games like he did last year. I think this is Melo's last shot, and I think it's going to be his last shot for a reason. It's because he's washed.
Wow.
And I've got a question for you guys, and I've got a hot take for like the end of this is, first off, Dave, it's weird. The numbers that you said were going to be his numbers are eerily similar to D-Wade's final year. And why I have that pulled up is the question that I'm going to ask is, are you surprised it's taken Melo this long to get signed? Because the thing I saw on Twitter was like D-Wade, and I get why he did it. Like, he's a buddy of Carmelo. You're going to be supportive of your buddy. But just seeing like, about time. And I'm like, all right, come on, D. We really believe in that? We really believe in about time? Because like, the thing that I look at is even like with D-Wade, like he was 35 when he was here in Chicago, then went to Cleveland, eventually went back to Miami. Yeah, they made the playoffs that year, but that was like he only played 21 games. And really, I look at that final season, the only reason he did do 43 from the field, 15 points, 4 assists, was his last, like he knew this is my last season, this is my going out party, and balled up for it. And plus, I know D-Wade, different player than Melo. We've never questioned D-Wade's work ethic or the I'm going to say selfishness, because you can't say throughout Melo's career, we haven't said that there's been a little selfish.
D-Wade was selfish player.
Yeah, okay, then we can say that. But I mean, I look at it and I go,
you're saying the guy who went on a year-long retirement tour is selfish that wanted the spotlight?
I mean,
the guy who left his, city of Miami to come to Chicago because he felt disrespected by the contract offer.
There are some people that deserve it. Like Derek Jeter was one in baseball who deserved the year-long thing.
Mo, Derek Jeter, the greats. They're all-time greats. Dwayne Wade is an all-time great.
When LeBron finally does it, LeBron at age
44 may have that year.
Sure, 44? Not like 50?
No, only 44.
He ain't going up to Tom Brady.
He only wants a couple years with Bronny. Once Bronny eclipses him, then he's outie.
But like that's the thing where it's like I'm not surprised it took this long for a team to finally sign Melo. Am I in the minority here? Like, are you guys shocked it took this long for a team to sign him?
No. Because I think he's washed.
I think it's the media.
You keep saying that.
I think it's when you bring Carmelo Anthony in, you have to know what you're signing up for. It's not the same, but it's similar to what Colin Kaepernick is to the NFL.
God, no.
Yep, I wanted to go there.
No.
I was thinking the same thing.
It's
a little
not.
differently.
No, I understand the Colin Kaepernick thing has a completely different reason behind it, but from
Kaepernick right now is bigger than Carmelo Anthony.
But if Kaepernick didn't have the other issues,
right?
Yeah,
that's not an issue.
No. If he didn't have the political stuff behind it, he would be on a team. Like, man, we'd be
100%. But Melo, the reason Melo isn't on a team is because he's bad. The reason Colin Kaepernick isn't on a team is because of the political stuff.
No, I just think it's media in general. Like, it's the media implications of having Carmelo Anthony on your team, because you are just going to get plastered for it, and it just becomes is he more harmful to your team, to your bench, to your talent in the locker room, your chemistry. All of that is in question. Like I said, they're completely different reasons, but it's at the end of the day, it's media and public implications.
Here's something that I think will help. I think there's going to be less drama over this Melo stint because people aren't expecting. There won't be the questions of are you going to be on the bench? And that was what was huge into the Rockets thing last year. Was he didn't want to be on the bench, he didn't want to come off of it, but then he did, and he was fine with it. And then he got cut. I don't think it was that big of a reason of why they cut him, though. I just don't think he fit on the team. Like, if he was performing, I don't think they would have cared. I don't think the media stuff is that big of an issue with NBA teams because guys want to back up Melo because he's a good guy. Right, so guys don't care about the fact that he's getting media attention, even if he's not a star anymore. At least playing like a star.
Yeah.
People don't care about that because guys want attention anyways. Like the NBA loves his attention. The NBA loves drama, so that doesn't matter to them.
About the NBA. I don't know if the NBA loves it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think who shies away from it.
I don't know.
You got NBA guys dropping diss tracks. Vic and Dame are rappers.
What you're saying is like Adam Silver may not like it.
Yeah, I don't know if the league
I don't think
necessarily...
Silver cares. As long as it's not negative pub, they don't care.
Yeah.
And nothing negative's coming out with Melo. Like, what's the most recent negative thing wasn't even player related. It was, kind of, because what
stuff.
LeBron said, but it was started because of Morey. So, even with all that stuff, like, I don't think Melo's a negative media attention. There's just going to be more media there, but, like, I don't think that Portland really cares because then Dame gets more of a spotlight. Like, Dame had that awesome SportsCenter commercial. Like, if people are going to now watch the Portland Trailblazers because of Melo, I don't think the Portland Trailblazers really care about that. I think they probably want that. But if he could help the team, I think that's what they want
It's just the
general.
balance of, like I said, is the positive contributions from Carmelo Anthony at this point in time going to outweigh the negative of, A, the media, which I still think is there, and B, like, is he good for the locker room or not? Because we talked about how selfish of a player he is. Like, do you want that rubbing off on guys like Anthony Simons, who looks like an absolute stud coming off the bench right now? Do you want that Nasir Little? You've got Gary Trent Jr. You've got a bunch of young pieces on this team. Even Zach Collins, still a very young player. Like, you got all these guys who have that potential to, hey, that could be the future core of this team. And you're going to bring in someone like Carmelo Anthony, who the last two teams he's been on, let's be honest, he wasn't exactly great for them in the locker room. He wasn't exactly great for them as a mentor on that team.
Well, and that leads me into my hot take. Melo will be on the Portland Trailblazers until around the trade deadline. And much like AI with I can't remember if it was a trade or they released him because he only played 3 games in Memphis. But I think he'll play with Portland until the trade deadline, get traded over the Knicks into like a trade where it's like, well, it's your final season. We all know it. The Knicks will be like, come on. Finish it out with New York, and he'll finish out this year in the second half of the year on a bad Knicks team.
Do many people I know Dwayne Wade got his feel good moment, but like
AI did. He played 25 games in that Philly season of 2010, where they were just bad.
Yeah, I know.
He was released by the Grizzlies.
Okay, so maybe actually I'll say that the same thing happens when Zach Collins comes back in March because right now 4 months. He'll get cut, and the Knicks will go, come on, finish out your career here in New York.
I don't think there's that much love for Carmelo in New York. I can be absolutely wrong.
By March, there might be.
but I'm saying, like, I don't think he had the same love that AI had in Philly, and I don't think he had the same love that D-Wade had in Miami.
No. Well, if anyone, it's going to be either Denver or New York.
Takes down the rise. He didn't take him to a finals like AI took
But
Philly.
He has been their most successful team in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
he's been their best player in the last 20 years.
More pathetic than it is, but it still like Carmelo being.
That's their guy.
It's the guy they hang their hat on, except for like Ewing would have been the last one before him,
which is 30 years ago.
Yeah, and they didn't give Ewing another run at it. They sucked.
They let Ewing go at the end.
Yeah,
that was a different time when teams weren't tanking.
I think if he's cut by the Portland's either going to keep him for the rest of the season or they're going to cut him. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen with Melo? I'm ending this segment. What do you want?
A throwback to the beginning. Skal Labissiere was number 2 in his recruiting class, behind a certain Australian prospect that went to LSU.
It was Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons. Thank you for that. Let us know your thoughts.
So it was
down
2, not 1.
Yep. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What is going to happen with Melo? Is he going to last on the Trailblazers the entire season? Do you think he's going to be like what Ricky said and end up on a different team, possibly the Knicks? Or do you think he's just going to be done after this Trailblazers stint? But let's move into the next segment, and it's our weekly segment where we talk about the dampest of dudes, the soggiest of shooters, the moistest of men. These are our wet boys. These are the guys that absolutely went off in the past week, had historical performances, had crazy highlights that we want to give love to, or had record-breaking performances. This is Wet Boys. So we do this each and every week. We have a counter. We have winners for each and every year, each and every postseason as well. We keep track of it. Ricky teased last week that he's going to try to do something something.
I got a new angle this year.
New angle.
He's
got a new angle this year for his guys. So Ricky, give people more insight into your new angle, I guess.
Well, go back to last week for your first clue. Here's your second clue of what the angle is. It's Kobe White, baby. Kobe White having an amazing, like, the Rockets game, not so hot. But since playing the Knicks and the Bucks, Kobe White has been not red hot. He's been white hot. And I'm saying that because of Sub-Zero. You got the blue, you got the white in there. He has been ice cold, shooting it from beyond the arc, the Kobe White that we want to see. And Stacey King's right. He's the future. Can't wait to see him doing this a long time, hopefully a long time, here in Chicago.
I mean, he just had a good game if you take, or an amazing game if you take the second half, or sorry, the fourth quarter of that. What was it, the Cavs game, or who the hell was it at home?
It was not
the 7-3
Cavs. It was
Knicks.
Yeah,
it was a shitty team. The Knicks, and then the first half of the Bucks game. If you just take those, that's an amazing game. Outside of that, he was Kobe White, and he's just a microwave. That is literally all he is.
Yeah.
People saying that he's a point guard.
I'm getting excited
need to
about
slow
my
down
team
because he's not a point guard.
Yeah,
that guy is a true number 2, and you guys have 2 guys that are great scorers, and that's about it. And Zach LaVine and Kobe White. But it was fun to watch.
Just let me be happy about my team, guys. Just let me be happy.
And radio great Chuck Swirsky was already putting him in the Hall of Fame after 7-3 against the Knicks. It was fantastic. You can find it on my Twitter. I think it was a miracle of what it was a great call. And it, like, Chuck was just like, put him in the Hall of Fame. He was like all upset. He was like, put him in the Hall. It's awesome. A great call by Chuck Swirsky.
That's
Dave,
amazing.
Give us your what boy.
Sure. I'm going after one of our namesakes. One of the guys that actually started the whole topic of wet boys. I'm going with the moist one, Malik Monk. This kid has been just tantalizing us year over year in the NBA. I'm like, please, I watch what you can do in college. I just want to see you do it again in the NBA. And now he has the minutes. It's crazy. For someone who went as high in the draft as he did, with as much talent as he has had, I've not seen someone get less playing time in the NBA than he has to start his career. But Malik Monk, holy shit, this kid has just absolute talent oozing. He can score from anywhere. And Detroit, I am sorry, but that last second game winner that he capped off, like, I texted right after. I was like, yep, nope, that's my wet boy. That kid right there. Because 3 games in a row, he's had 15, 20, and 19 points. He's been shooting incredibly well from the field. He has everything coming together for him, and I hope that stretch continues because we've seen, a 2-game, a 3-game spurts from him in the past where it's like, okay, he's starting to get the hang of this, and I think this could be really it. I think this is the start of his consistency. I think that they've changed their lineup around enough times. This is his time.
Yeah, NBA.com put up a video of all angles for Malik Monk's buzzer beater right in the face of Andre Drummond. It was pretty sweet. So check it out if you haven't. But yeah, Malik Monk, namesake of the podcast.
This is a 1-footed fall away shot. Come on.
And one thing too that's been crazy about the Hornets is they've been a weirdly fun watch. Yeah. Terry Rozier's had a couple games. Devonta Graham's been a very good player throughout their first 11 games,
awesome.
I think.
So you're saying these guys can ball without Kemba?
Huh?
You're saying these guys can ball without the eclipse of Kemba Walker being there?
They're not a good team, but they're a fun team.
They're just fun to watch.
No, I'm saying, like, now that it's not just like Kemba.
It makes me jealous.
We've got, like, other guys we can focus on now with the Hornets.
It's less pathetic because they had a great player in Kemba Walker. It's like, all right, you're wasting him, and now you're not wasting him. You're just letting the kids play, and it's fun.
I think that's part of the thing is when you have someone as talented as Kemba was, you have to build an offense around him. But now that they have basically this level of talent that's just a notch down, where it's just all these guys can play, but we're not really sure where our team's going to play through. Everybody gets equal opportunity. I love it.
It's been a fun watch, and that's now the second Hornet that has gotten a wet boy this year, and I think they are the leader for when it comes to teams.
I'm shocked that this is the moist one's first wet boy. Is that true?
Yeah. Because he's never gotten a playoff one.
Yeah.
Because,
I would have thought that, like, looking at because Dave's got the thumbnail pulled up on his computer. I swear we've made a Malik Monk one before.
Nope.
Damn. Wow. Unless it was well, no, it wasn't playoffs.
Yeah, they weren't going to the playoffs. So I made that joke. Kemba had a couple, so the colors might be familiar for that. Okay. You made one for PJ Washington already.
Okay. Well, yeah, because you had PJ.
Let's see, right. And then I think, Kemba had 2 as well in 2017, 2018. And then I think that's all for the Hornets. I think it's just it was dominated by
Kemba Walker.
Kemba Walker,
right.
yeah, it was. It was dominated by Kemba Walker. So you've probably seen Kemba's name a couple of times on those colors. But let's move into mine, and this is literally no shock to anybody.
I thought it was Dave's at first. When I saw the thumbnail, I'm like, oh, it's Dave's wet boy.
You also got the text well before you saw the thumbnail, so you didn't fucking believe that at all.
I forget things.
Last year's winner for Wet Boy of the Year, James Harden, ran away with it last year. He had 10. Second place had 4. It wasn't even close. Also, weirdly enough, I just realized this, he's not had a single playoff Wet Boy, but I think we'll talk about that in the next segment in a little bit. But James Harden, don't want to get too much into it, but now a 14-time Wet Boy. He has been unreal throughout the past 4 games. Shooting 48% from the field, shooting 43%, or 44% from 43.9% from 3, 83.9% from the line on 14 attempts. 43 points in those 4 games on a per game basis, and 2.8 steals, 7.5 assists, 7 rebounds, and just got their 6th straight win, and they were 4-0 in that span as well. So this Rocket team has been playing well, but I don't want to get too much into it because, like I said, we will be talking about that in the next segment. But that was our Wet Boys for the week. Let us know who your Wet Boy of the week is down in the comments below. Ricky, what do you want to say?
I just want to say, James Harden, he's bumming it out this year. I mean, it's taken, 4 weeks for him to get a Wet Boy?
I tried to not give it to him, even though he deserved it, Ricky.
Although,
that's
10,
the thing.
He had 10 last year, and the second place had 4.
Yeah, but I don't think he
9 of them were Dave.
He was off to a slow start last
He
year. Let me
deserved
check.
every single one of them.
Last year, it took him...
No.
Yeah, last year it took him 5 weeks.
Okay.
See?
So 11-17 was the first time that Dave gave him a Wet Boy. And then
And it
he
would
went
not
on
be
a
the last.
And then he went on a run.
Sooner rather than later, Dave's just going to go into Harden mode. And
Look, they've won 6 straight games. They're fucking ridiculous. They're winning with guys on that team who should be in the G League. You can't give James Harden enough credit. He's one of the all-time greatest scorers. Period. So, again, save it for later, but yeah.
Yeah, he
deserves the respect.
He had it was pretty much December 22nd. You started the run, Ricky, so pat yourself on the back.
blame myself.
December 22nd was a Wet Boy for him, and then Dave gave him 2 weeks straight after that. Then we gave him the podcast awards for 3 straight weeks. So he was a Wet Boy for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight weeks, and then we got sick of him and didn't give it to him, and then we gave it to him, I think, 2 more weeks after that. So James Harden, king of the Wet Boys, and I'll be shocked if he's not king of the Wet Boys this year as well with the way he's been playing so far. Let's now move into the MVP Fantasy League update. We currently sit in 6th place with 76.5 points total. Brad Stevens' Army is absolutely running away with it right now in 1st place. They have 110 total points. 2nd place has 93.
yeah, it's our boy King E in 2nd place. Stealing our guys.
Yeah, but Brad Stevens' Army is number 1, and King E isn't even close.
It's a long season. It's a long season. Injuries can happen.
Let's jump into at least where we rank. In field goal percentage, we are 10th. In free throw percentage, we are 2nd. In 3-pointers made, we are 6th? 6th? Yeah, we're 6th. We're 6th.
I don't know. I'm looking at Brad Stevens' Army's team.
Yeah, I understand why Brad Stevens' Army is number 1 now.
Devin Booker's going off. Cat had, after week 1, we were talking about him being an MVP candidate, and people are like, top 3 MVP candidate.
He's got Isaiah Thomas, who is having a career resurgence.
Surprised you haven't mentioned the guy you wanted to draft, Dave.
Chris Paul's on that team. I mean, he has a really good team. Credit to you.
Not invincible, but good.
Yeah.
All right. Rebounds, we are 15th, so yikes. Assists, we are tied for 6th, I think.
Nice.
No, 7th. 7th. I don't know how to do this. We are tied for 7th. Steals, we are in 7th. Blocks, we are in 3rd. And points, we are in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. So that's where we currently stand. I already have a move. Want to throw it out there. Available are 3 players: Frank Ntilikina, Nerlens Noel, and Chris Dunn. All guys have been playing well. Chris Dunn,
good defense across the board, all 3.
Yeah, and I think that we can drop Landry Shamet because he's been bad.
Well, he's also out right now.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So who do you think we should add?
Chris Dunn.
Nerlens, Chris Dunn, or Mo Wagner? Or Frank Ntilikina.
Mo
Mo
Wagner.
Wagner.
Can I just
Right
one,
team. Oh, no,
one game
not
shout
right
out? One game shout for Mo Wagner to
He's on
just
the
be
Wizards now.
inferno hot. He dropped a 30 and 15 game. The fuck?
Yep.
Well, can we
Mo
drop
Wagner,
Frank
the composer.
Ntilikina versus the Dallas Mavericks love too? Because there was the game at Dallas that he dropped 14 points, was not missing a bucket, and was just literally everywhere on the floor
He
defensively.
put the clamps on Luka, and I mean, I don't feel good about that.
I think
but he
Luka
did.
still put up 30 though.
Oh yeah, no. But it was like when Luka was guarded by him, he was shooting abysmal. So I'm okay with that. If we really want to go after like steals, all those guys give us steals. The question is like blocks. Who gives us the most blocks out of that grouping? And do you think that Mo Wagner will continue gaining the playing time? Because that's the thing.
I mean,
like,
it is the Wizards.
I know, but they're a wild card team of like random people go off any given game on that team.
The thing we need most is rebounds, which is something we've already talked about.
So Noel or Wagner gives us more rebounds usually than
Mo Wagner is available. We could go, and this is, I think he's probably still available. We just talked about him already. You want to pick up Melo? You want to take a shot at Melo?
Melo's available?
The king? He might be.
No,
I would
I
doubt he's
guarantee you
not.
someone picked up Melo already.
Someone picked up
I
Melo.
told you, there's no way he didn't get picked up.
All right, so, I mean, rebounds, the leader right now in rebounds that's available is Kevon Looney, but he's also out. So it'd be JaMychal Green, who I told you was a good ad.
No.
Why not?
No.
Why not?
I'll take Mo Wagner.
He's hitting 2 threes a game, 7 boards per game, 8.9 points. He gives you a block. He gives you a steal probably like every 3 games. And he's shooting 41% from the field.
Mo's scoring or averaging. I mean, I know it's probably that one game.
It's literally the one game.
Yeah. 12, 8, 8, 12, 14. I mean, he's gotten... He's pretty much a good double-digit scorer, but...
Based on averages, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson would be a better ad than JaMychal Green.
No, because his playing time's all because of injuries. Give me Mo Wagner. He's been having a good run lately.
Yeah.
Like, he had a 12... Well, his rebounding's sort of inconsistent as fuck, but that's fine.
Goodbye, Landry Shamet.
Yeah. He gets blocks,
Hello,
too.
Mo Wagner.
Yeah.
So,
Mo Wagner's had 3 3-block games this year. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about our team. I think our team's going to be fine.
We're in
especially
striking
when
distance, prepping for...
Victor Oladipo comes back.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, Kawhi's been in and out. Otto Porter sucked ass, but we can't drop him because we're in a 16-team league.
We need to get your boy.
So...
The Supernova?
Your boy. He's the most added player right now of the free agents.
Who?
Supernova.
Terrence
offense.
Ross.
He's available?
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
He's not.
He
Yeah, he
is.
is.
I already looked at the most available.
It's right here.
Right here it says that
I
Rajon Rondo.
roster percentages. So 20% of people are adding him right now.
No, that's how many people have him on a roster. 1.8% of leagues are
No,
dropping
isn't
him.
that? Oh, okay.
Change in percentage owned
Wrong
is
one.
going down. You bum.
I mean, still, he's available. We got to have him. It's
He's
Dave's
available
team,
because someone
right?
dropped him.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Supernova offense, though. He can light the fire at any time.
Honestly, Langston Galloway's had a really good stretch of games, too. If anyone needs 3-point shooting, that guy...
Don't
actually,
give them help.
Fuck it. I'm just tossing it out there.
The moist one's also available.
Let's see. No. Our guy Prince added Melo and dropped James Ennis. Did someone drop Terrence Ross? Because I'm pretty sure someone drafted him.
Yeah, Terrence Ross is available, though.
Yeah, I saw. I'm trying to figure out who dropped him though, so we could publicly shame them, and then we'll end this.
Yeah, Galloway.
I think it was Sam.
It was Sam.
It was Sam. Sam dropped him for Daniel House.
November 7th.
Wow, Sam.
Was
Disappointing.
drafted in the 7th round with the 107th pick by Sam.
I'm just saying, Langston Galloway, yo. Like 9 games, he's putting up
Do you want us to
16
pick
points
up?
a
Do you
game,
want us
2
to pick-
assists, and shooting 6 threes a game, making
Who are we dropping
49% of them.
Who are we dropping for him?
Michael Porter Jr.
No.
Fucking bum.
No.
He's doing nothing for us. It's a waste of space.
It's not true he's not doing anything for us. When he goes in, he lights it up. He's shooting 50% from the field. He's been good.
on like 2 attempts a game.
You want us to drop Michael Porter Jr.?
I just want to spite you. I was just trying to get a reaction.
Do you want us to drop Michael
I'm just
Porter
trying to
Jr.?
get a reaction.
I don't
from you.
like you. How's that
That's
for
a
a fucking
lie.
reaction? I don't like you. I don't like your presence.
Understandable. We've been on this show together long enough. We're like Mike and Mike over here.
All right, now apparently like Wingo and Mike because Wingo
Really?
wants off.
Really?
Yeah, Wingo wants off.
So really, it's Mike Golick's the problem.
Golick is an asshole.
Is Mike Golick the problem?
So they should just make
that
it
be your
Golick
next
and
segment?
Golick and just have father and son.
Should that be the problem?
I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet.
Should that be the
that be
next
a topic?
topic?
Yeah.
Well, screw the
Is
James Harden
Mike
thing.
Golick
Is
the
Mike
problem?
Golick the issue in Bristol? But let's move into the next topic, and we're going to be talking about James Harden. The title I have might not be the title that goes up, but it is a title that I did suggest, and I already gotten some negative feedback from Jake about it because of the title. But let's do it anyways, or let me at least say it, and we'll at least talk about it, because that's what I want all of our topics to be, is a conversation. Let's talk it out, because this is something that I think someone could say. They could be wrong by saying it.
And if anything, it's clickbait.
I don't want to be clickbaity, though.
Well, I mean, it'll get people to click on it, but hey, then we'll actually talk about it, and people will be like, whoa, that's a change.
But we're talking about
Whoa, that's Jake.
Is James Harden the most dominant player in the NBA? And Jake immediately responded with a confused LeBron gif. And I want to frame it this way because I don't think he's the best player in the NBA. I do still think it's LeBron James. LeBron James is the best player in the NBA. He's the most talented. He's the most skilled. But LeBron coasts, and we know he coasts, and we know that when LeBron wants to turn it on, I don't think there is stopping LeBron. But James Harden hasn't been stopped, and I don't know if he can be stopped. And I think he is very similar, and this is also going to get shit from Jake, so maybe the person that's going to hate this segment the most is Jake, but I think he is very similar to what Drew Brees is in New Orleans. I don't think he was necessarily loved in OKC, and that was clearly shown by them not giving him the max extension, and he needed to go some other place for him to fully get the love he needed, like Drew needed to go from San Diego to New Orleans to get the love that he needed. It was a perfect pairing with Sean Payton. This is a perfect pairing with Mike D'Antoni. And now we are seeing, a great player really get utilized to the best of their abilities. And Drew Brees is the all-time leading passer in yards in NFL history. And James Harden, obviously he's not at that point yet because he hasn't had a long enough career like Drew Brees has, but there have been times where Drew Brees is putting up numbers at a season that haven't been seen before. And right now, James Harden is pretty much doing that over the past 3 years. This is going to be his third straight year of averaging 30 points. He is going to somehow go from 36 points this year, probably up more per game. He is going to, I wouldn't be shocked if he averaged 38 points. He's averaging 38 points right now. I wouldn't be shocked if he did that. He has been able to dominate each and every game he has been playing in for the past 2 years. And I'm using the word dominate because he is just doing James Harden things night in and night out. And the only way he doesn't is if he has a bad shooting night. And I want to frame it this way because you look at what he's done this year and then last year as well. I'm not going to bring in 2017, 2018 because I want to focus on the years that he's put up, league leading, crazy numbers like 36 points last year per game and right now 38 points per game.
So the last 2 years.
Yeah. He did lead the league, the year before prior as well. But James Harden last night went off for 44 points, 13 and 26 from the field, 12 of 14 from the field. And I just wanted to find when was the last time he didn't have a game that was a James Harden game where he was, putting up 20 points and didn't go to the free throw line a ton. Because there was the first game of the year against Milwaukee that he had 19 points and you're like, oh, that's not a James Harden game. But he went to the line 14 times and hit 14 of those shots. He was just 1 of 8 from 3 and 2 of 13 from the field. Yeah. He still had a James Harden game where he wanted to get to the bucket, he got fouled and made his free throws. And he was making more of those shots, we would have seen like a 25-point game from James Harden.
He still did have 14 assists and 7 boards in that game.
Yeah,
that's the crazy thing.
I mean, James Harden still had his game. He still got to the bucket, and he still forced the defense to put him in a situation that was sending him to the line. Yeah. That is what James Harden did. He has done that for 12 games this year. You look at last year in the playoffs, he did that as well. His lowest scoring output was 22 points, but he went to the line 16 times in that game. James Harden was dominant in that game. And then you look at all the 82 games last year, and he didn't play in 4 of them. So out of those 78 games last year and the 11 that he played in the playoffs, so I'm doing live math at a podcast, so it's 89, and then the 12 this year as well. So that is 11, carry the 1, 89, 8, 101, 101 games. After past 101 games for James Harden, there's been 5 times that he has not had a James Harden game. And in those games, he was 7 of 25 from the field, was 3 of 3 from the line, and put up 20 points against Dallas on March 10th, 2019. Then against the Timberwolves back in March of 2019 as well, he was 8 of 24 from the field and did not go to the free throw line once and put up 20 points. Then with a Houston game, a Utah game, December 6th, 2018, he went to 5 of 16 from the field, 3 of 3 from the line, 15 points. Then November 8th, 2018, against the Thunder, he was 7 of 19 from the field, 1 of 3 from the line, and 19 points. And then finally, October 17th, 2018, he was 6 of 15 from the field and 3 of 4 from the line, and only put up 18 points. Those are the 5 games out of 101 games that he has not had a James Harden game. He has been able to do what James Harden wants to do each and every night for the past 2 years. That is absolutely dominant. No one's been able to slow him down outside of 5 games. 95% of his games, 95% of his games, he has been able to dominate. He has been able to do what he wants each and every night. I don't think I've seen an offensive output like this because Steph Curry can go off for 8 threes in a game whenever he wants. Absolutely. But he's not doing that every night. And he wasn't able to do that every night because of Kevin Durant and because of Klay Thompson. And yes, he is playing in a perfect system. But right now, I think you can make the argument that he is the most dominant player in the NBA because each and every night he is going to do what he wants and he is going to put you in a situation that you need to put him to the line because he's either going to get an easy bucket and lay it in, or he's going to go to the line and just hit 14 of 14 free throws. Yep. He is absolutely doing what he wants each and every night on the floor. So with all that said, do you think that he is the most dominant player in the NBA right now?
Well, I mean, I'll ask the same thing that you said. Simple yes from Dave, but it's kind of like when we have, and this is how the sausage is made here, when we have a topic, and Dave says, is there going to be conversation? And Dave goes, what's your answer? What's your answer? What's your answer? And if it's all the same, we scrap it. My question is, what other player, do you have another player in mind that could be the most dominant? Because, LeBron, like you mentioned, LeBron's the best. Maybe not the most dominant anymore because of he knows when to, and load management too. Kawhi is dominant. Last year's playoffs was dominant. But when you're only playing 60 games a year, can we call you the most dominant?
Well, I think you could then, because James Harden, like we said, he's only missed 4 games last year, even though he's injured. LeBron, I think, would be an argument because when he wants to be, I don't think there is a stopping. You can stop LeBron.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard is dominant on both sides of the floor. You have Paul George, who last year was dominant offensively and defensively. I don't know if anyone's going to argue that he's the most dominant though, because Kawhi Leonard's just a better version of him. I'm probably missing somebody.
Giannis, maybe.
Oh, that's right. Giannis, the reigning MVP.
Yeah.
Giannis is probably the guy that I think most people would probably say because he is so great offensively and defensively. So I think Kawhi, LeBron, and Giannis can be in situations. I would just fight for Harden over Giannis and over LeBron and over Kawhi because he's doing it every single night, which Giannis is doing. And I would think that Giannis can do it in multiple ways, which makes him very versatile. He's now added the 3-point shot, and he is very good at creating shots for his own off of his defensive plays as well. And Harden's been great at creating steals so far. But I think that the fact that James Harden has not been able to not been forced to change his game style and his play style is something that makes him the most dominant. Because I think Giannis is still finding the way he can dominate each and every night and adding things to it, because he's not just trying to be a guy that is going to run and attack the bucket and dunk each and every time down the floor. He is trying to add a 3-point shot and become a very diverse player. Yeah. I think that Giannis has the ability to become the most dominant player in the NBA. I just think right now Harden is in such a state that it's like fine wine. He's fermented. He's finally ready. He's at the peak age of his ripening, or whatever the fuck wine is. He's at the peak fermentation for his wine, and right now is peak James Harden 2018 to 2020 James Harden, where I think Giannis is still finding his, even though he just won the MVP.
I absolutely
didn't vote
agree.
for him, but
the whole reason Giannis won was because he had the better regular season team, and that's heavily weighs into MVP voting. And that's one of the things we've seen.
Plus,
MVP,
the media doesn't like James Harden and his way of basketball.
Also true.
They share my standpoint in that.
Yeah, but I mean, like MVP voting versus who wins a ring that year usually doesn't line up. There's a couple of cases. Steph Curry and LeBron James are the two recent ones. I think the last 20 years. Maybe Tim Duncan had one in there at the start of the 2000s, I should say.
The GOAT.
He's not the GOAT.
No, the GOAT also, but that was years ago.
Yeah, that's 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
Point being that, like, when I look at James Harden's ability on the court and how he carries a team night in, night out. Yeah, no, like you said, Sean, there's nothing that he can't do to win them a game. Like, he will will them through shit that he's out there with a roster, at times he's playing 1v9, and it looks ridiculous, but he gets to the line. He makes the three. He does whatever it takes. He takes, 8 steps between bouncing the ball on the ground. Some might call it travel. I just call it his next new move. That's what makes James Harden James Harden. He and Mike D'Antoni have revolutionized the way that people play basketball in this era. And I think that's something special. They together built something that no other teams have been trying to copy, have been trying to play off of. It's them and the Warriors have been the two teams revolutionizing the modern era of basketball. So I think that not only has he been dominating, but he's ahead of the curve.
Just to answer your question, though, about MVPs winning the MVP and the championship in the same season in the past 20 years, Steph 2014, 2015, LeBron 2012, 2013, 2011, 2012, Tim Duncan 2002 and 2003, and then Shaq 99, 2000. And then Michael had 4 years of doing it as well. 97, 98, 95, 96, 91, 92, and 90, 91.
Shocked that Michael Jordan was dominating the NBA.
Hakeem as well, 93, 94. But it's been something that's happened before, but it has been less frequent in the past 20 years. I think that is also a part of it too, is that we are seeing now guards at that style become what James Harden's doing. We're seeing guys be in that heavy isolation like Dame, where Giannis is trying to just be like what LeBron was being. I think James Harden is now changing what guards are trying to do, at least guys that aren't Steph Curry. Steph Curry changed it for great shooters. I think James Harden's changed it for great scorers. Ricky, has your answer been changed by this?
No,
Do you have
I would
a guy
say
that you throw
with
out there?
me, I would say the closest that we could get is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I would almost say Giannis, because the thing that I look at is when I think of James Harden, I think of everything that he can do offensively. And all the numbers are there for it. But to me, it's a little different. It's watching James Harden makes me want to blow my brains out. Looking at James Harden's numbers makes me go, wow, that's very impressive. But when I watch, when I look at Giannis's numbers, they're not the same as James Harden, but when I watch Giannis out there, I go, holy shit, look at what he's doing. And he's doing it on both ends of the floor. That's the thing that I like with Giannis, where he'll come down, oppose you on the offensive side, and then he'll completely demolish you on the defensive side as well. Now he's not the absolute best, but he's close to the best defensively. One of the only ones he almost was MVP and Defensive Player of the Year last year.
I was with you in not liking James Harden's style, just because it was slower and it's just ISO ball and there's not a lot of passing. But I am surprised that you don't like it because you are such an advocate for free throws.
It's how he gets to the line that pisses me off. Like the flopping and the
plays within the rules of the game.
I get the rules of the game.
That's being a master of your craft, though.
Let me kick out my leg so that I get some contact. And it's not even like a slight kick. I don't know,
maybe Reggie Miller.
It's not even a slight kick. It's like a huge wow, I'm doing the splits in midair half the time. It's just James Harden's game.
He'll do
watching
everything
it
he can to get his team the points, to get his team the win.
You know what James Harden is for me? He's the perfect radio basketball player for me because I don't have to watch his game. I can just listen to it.
I believe James Harden's been fined twice in his career for flopping, and the last time was 2013.
Speaking of flopping,
flopping, but also the one where he was draped over the guy's back. And
Michael Carter-Williams.
Or no, it was Michael Carter-Williams.
Yeah, Michael Carter-Williams on the Bulls.
Okay, I thought he was on the Bulls at that time.
Yeah, that was
and
hilarious.
It's Michael Carter-Williams gets called for the foul. It's the double step back. That's really a travel. I don't know. I can't stand it.
How do you win games? You impose your will on the other team, and he absolutely does that every time he's on the court. That's what I love about him. It's his offensive craftiness. He's not the best athlete in the league. He's not the best shooter in the league. But you know what he is? He's one of the smartest players in the league. He knows how to get his points. He knows how to play it to the refs. He knows how to get the wins for his team, and that's why they're on a 6-game win streak right now this season. Sean said, it's been over a year of him doing this night in, night out, and he's been doing it. And I think to his credit, you look at the supporting cast, you're like, okay, so he's got a center who's consistent. Outside of that, any one of those pieces, you put him in a box, you shake him up, you're like, I don't know who's going to show up. You got guys from the G League, you got guys who are picked up off their couch. Like, it doesn't matter the talent around him. He's just able to get this team to perform and get them to win games. Like, it's just been incredible. Where
also last year, Giannis is fantastic, but Giannis had the Coach of the Year last year. Giannis had Chris Middleton, who was an All-Star. He had Eric Bledsoe. He had Brook Lopez, who was a revelation with his 3-point shooting.
90, the president.
He had Malcolm Brogdon, the president, as well. He had a very deep team. And with that, Giannis, over the past 2 years, his team's won 68 games, and Harden's won 62. And Giannis is doing it, Ricky, where?
In the weak East.
In the weak East. So, I mean, really, if we take in the coefficient for the weak East, it's pretty much just like 60 wins. So James Harden's doing it in a different conference. I'm kidding, 100%. I think that Giannis is probably the most impressive. I mean, like there's so many different things.
Player, like technically, like 3 times in a row.
There's so many good players in the league. I think that Giannis is probably the most impressive player just because he's 6'11". He's so fast. He's got this great wingspan. He's so physical as well. He could do it on both ends of the floor, but I don't think Giannis can impose his will like James Harden can. And maybe that's the finesse part of Harden's game that makes me think that, where Giannis is more, at least, it's just strength, it's speed, it's you can't stop me because I'm just that big. Yeah. Where LeBron learned more finesse to his game and now is more of a finesse player, where Harden has that. And that's why I was kind of trying to compare him to a wine, is that I think he is just right now at the peak of his art, and he is, flopping, whatever you want to call it. He's able to manipulate the refs to get foul calls, but he is able to, like 95% of the games, he is able to either go to the line 10 times a night, or he's able to hit 40 threes. Or he's able to hit, he's able to hit threes and put up 40 points. He has the ability to play James Harden basketball any night that he wants to. And Giannis is able to put up points, he's able to put up numbers, he's able to dominate physically, and maybe he is more of a versatile player than James Harden, but James Harden is dominating in James Harden's way. I just think it's kind of like, I don't know. Do I want to go?
Well,
I'm not gonna bring in war styles into this because it can get tricky. But they are pretty much just trying something that they know is work. You can't stop it because they're just technologically advanced, like more further than you. That is what they're doing.
See, but are they though? And this is the thing where I'm glad you brought up the young LeBron thing, because if you looked at my reaction, I went, nah. And when I just thought about it a little bit was, it's almost in like what reverse LeBron, because LeBron always talked about where it's like, yeah, it was more dominant back then, but it's like, I feel like as LeBron's career has gone on, he's been more of a teammate, more of a like a, hey, I'm really good, but I need this team to win, to where I feel like, and I know that this leads into something else, but it's with James Harden, a very important thing is his style of being this kind of dominant player going to be the most advantageous for him in his career, because we look at it, the guy, like, there hasn't been, every time there's a free agent, it's like, ooh, could LeBron join the Rockets? Could this guy join the Rockets? They never do. They have to trade for Chris Paul. Doesn't end up working. Have to trade for Russell Westbrook. Sean in the hot take saying that those two are not going to work out.
So that's not proof at all.
Is this going to be, no, but like, I'm saying that is like, he's not the only one. There's a lot of people out there that are like, this is not going to work.
Yeah,
to where
it's clearly not working.
I feel like James Harden is going to be like most dominant. You can make an argument for it, but like, is this going to be the most beneficial to his overall image, his overall legacy? To where I feel like it's almost the reverse of LeBron, where it's like, had a team in OKC. Yes, it was them that didn't give him the money, so of course he walked. But now making it all about himself, it's like, do you just want to go out?
He got traded.
Okay, got traded because they didn't want to give him the contract that he wanted, so they shipped him.
Yeah, they gave him, here's your option. You can take this short contract for less money than you're worth, or you can get the fuck out of town
and
get a max.
And yeah.
But my point is, basically, without saying, does he have a ring? Because I know that sets people off that are James Harden stans.
You're welcome.
I feel like Yes, is he really good at playing basketball? Yes, but this style is never going to win James Harden a ring. It's never going to.
I disagree with that.
And we got to wait and see. I feel like nobody wants to come play with James Harden.
Finesse and playing and being able to score at will. How is that not going to get him a ring? Like his game will age
because it's about
that's the best thing.
He needs a team around him if no one wants to come and play.
Name the last player who won as a single man.
I'm not saying that as a. I'm just saying like if no one wants to come play with him, if he's playing with this,
no one wants to play with
if
him.
he wants to play with this
box,
box,
in contract hell.
Well, and is
that's
part of
not
that
his fault. How is he the GM? Is he signing people to these contracts? Then you can't blame him. This is not on him. It is the same thing as Anthony Davis. You can't bring talent to a team when you make horrible decisions with contracts. Like, you have to go nuclear. You have to go completely burn ground to get to the point where you can choose at will who's going to come into town at what cost. Like, the Clippers were able to do it because, look, they want... we have Blake Griffin, we have CP3, and we have DeAndre Jordan. We're not going to pay Jordan, let him go out of town. We're going to trade off Blake Griffin. We're going to trade off Chris Paul. They completely emptied out the cupboards, got young assets, and then went, great, now we can flip this around. We can sign Kawhi. We can trade for Paul George. That's the way they're able to get talent together. It's not like players are taking pay cuts to come play with them. That's not the situation. Anthony Davis didn't take a pay cut to come play with LeBron. He was traded for assets, and that's the thing. Like, they've been building this franchise for the last 4 years on mortgaging their future. They keep on selling forward to try to get the people there now because they feel like their time to win is now. And had they not run into the best team in NBA history since the 96-97 Bulls or 97-98 Bulls, they would have won one. They came a fluky game away from it. They came an injury away from it. Like, it's just time over time. They're so close. And that's why I feel like the argument of ring or nothing doesn't validate anymore.
One thing with that, and just over the past 4 years, we have seen the past 4 NBA champions take advantage of disadvantaged situations. Toronto, they took advantage of the Spurs needing to move Kawhi Leonard. They got Kawhi Leonard for dirt cheap, already had bench depth. They needed to add a star, and then they took advantage of KD and Klay being out. The 2 Warriors teams, they took advantage of a star, the second best player in the NBA, being available, and the fact that they could sell him on, you are not going to only get a ring, but you're going to coast to a ring for 2 straight years. And they did that. They took advantage of the situation that the market played into their favor. They had the ability to add him. He wanted to come. It was a perfect marriage. They took advantage of free agency. And in Cleveland, they took advantage of the fact that they were down 3-1. There was the whole Draymond Green situation. There was an opening for them to come back in, and they took advantage of it. The past 4 champions have taken advantage of those disadvantaged situations. I don't think Houston has been able to take advantage of that. I don't think that is James Harden's fault. I don't think James Harden can't win a championship. If you took James Harden off the Rockets and put him on the Raptors last year, this team still would have won a championship because you have a dominant scorer that can score 44 a game, and when he passes off, those guys can hit. We saw what Fred VanVleet did. We saw what Kyle Lowry did. We saw what Marc Gasol did. We saw what Pascal Siakam did. We saw what Serge Ibaka did. There is no Serge Ibaka. There is no Pascal Siakam. There is no Kyle Lowry. There is no Fred VanVleet on their team. There is Russell Westbrook, and he just got on the team. We'll see what they can do. But even before that, there was an Eric Gordon, but I would rather have Kyle Lowry. There is
Kyle Lowry's a much better player than Gordon ever was.
There was Chris Paul last year, but he was always injured.
Yeah.
So I don't think he ever had the ability to take advantage of a disadvantaged situation. The only one you could possibly make the argument for is when Steph was injured, and they weren't able to do that. But I don't know if it was because of him, because as a team, they shot horribly in that series.
Or last year when KD was injured. I mean, KD got injured during that Rockets series, if my memory is serving me correct, and that's when we first.
I don't think he did.
Playoffs. Let's do some live spot checking, Ricky.
Because I'm pretty sure he got injured in that season. I remember Stephen A. going on First Take and saying, "This is where the Rockets need to capitalize," and then they didn't.
He did not play in the last game, so you're likely correct.
Yeah, he missed that the very last game, and it's like even right then and there. That's I know a 1-game example, but that's an example of it going the other way. I know the Warriors were still the Warriors, and people are going to say that to downgrade this, but like, what? You still lose that game. Yes, the Warriors only won by 5. It wasn't like a 15-point, 19-point victory, but it's like
It was still a James Harden game, though. He still took advantage of it. He still put up 35 points. He still went to the line 12 times. He still went 6 of 15 from the field. Like James Harden
from
still
3, 6 of 15. From
sorry, 11 of 25 from the field. Like James Harden still played his ass off. Like it wasn't because of James Harden. They just lost to a better team. I mean, that was still a better team for Golden State. And look, I mean, you still had Steph, Draymond, and Clay.
Clay went nuclear.
And even Andre Iguodala, where it was James Harden and then Eric Gordon and Clint Capella and Chris Paul. Like they lost to a better team there. I don't know if there was a disadvantaged situation. They had help. Kevin Durant going out, but I think Golden State was still a better team.
And that leads me back to something I said earlier why I would pick Giannis over James Harden is James Harden to me is the guy where it's all about the offense. How much it's not. I don't want to say terrible defense, but he's
not.
He's
the above average defender in the league.
But he takes off to me where it's like I can, not go balls to the wall on defense because I'm going to go so hard on offense. And I feel like that is something where I look at where it's like, yeah, your offensive numbers are great, but if he was more, what's the word I'm looking for? Balanced in a sense, where I don't think Giannis would have that same problem. Like when you say Clay went off, it's like, okay, well, back in the day, and I know 90s basketball different than now, but I'm still going to try to equate it. Michael Jordan was the most dominant for the Bulls. Do you think that if, let's say, the guy Scottie was guarding, was roasting him, you don't think Jordan would say, let me get that?
Well,
let me
get never
that
happened with Scottie Pippen. Sorry.
Exactly, but I got to try to find something. Let's say Chris Paul wasn't handling his guy.
The best players going against Jordan at the end of his career was Karl Malone.
Yeah.
He can't 2v4 matchup. You can't. That did not work out well. He never went up against, and not never, but
Michael Jordan in those 97, 98 finals shut down Jeff Hornacek.
Sean Kemp in the late 90s.
He was
Sean Kemp was a big guy.
Well, I mean,
Jordan never went up against
Gary Payton and Sean Kemp were the only ones that Stockton and Gary Payton were the backcourt guys.
You're telling me that he just played against worse teams and that they were a better team and also he was the best player? I mean,
this is unraveling quickly.
So Michael Jordan won because he was on a better team and he was the best player in the league.
My point being is that James Harden played more defense.
Sick argument, dude.
My point is James Harden to me, it's the defensive side that why I would pick Giannis over James Harden.
He's been an above-average defender in the league for the last couple of years. Harden does have those moments where he does not give 100% effort on defense, but for the majority of his time out there, he's an above-average defender. I think that was something from early in his career, and he's gotten over it. He does give effort. He does try on defense, and he is helpful. So I just think at the end of the day, it comes down to he got put into matchups where there were better teams,
Dave,
top to bottom.
Here's where I'm going to have to disagree with you, and the stats agree with me. In the playoffs, he had a defensive box score plus minus of -0.3 in the playoffs last year, and a defensive rating of 114. Oh wait, that's Klay Thompson. Isn't that so weird? Oh, James Harden had a 105 defensive rating. Oh, and a defensive box score plus minus of 2.2. That's actually really good.
Weird.
Isn't that weird?
Weird. He's playing against one of the best defenders in the NBA and was able to do that?
Is he all? And this is the thing. I don't watch Rocket games every single one.
That was just playoffs.
Is James Harden the one that's going up against the number one offensive guy for the other team? Is he that for where it's like Klay Thompson?
That's why you had Chris Paul.
Well, yeah, last year he wasn't because he was going up against Steph, but he was still going up against it wasn't like he was going up against Jeff Hornacek. He was going up against Klay Thompson.
But what I'm saying is if your defense was as dominant as it was offensively, you don't lose by 5 in that game. And maybe that's me being short-sighted. If his defense was as dominant as it was offensively, they would be the most broken team in the NBA. Or even half of as dominant as his offensive output. And I just don't think he's as dominant on the defensive side.
No, he's not, because he's a slower two-guard
but he's not
plays on finesse.
Ability. I mean, like LeBron.
And that's where I'm saying where LeBron, it hurts the dominant argument.
Okay, but was LeBron not dominant? Because LeBron's never been the best defender in the NBA. Was LeBron not dominant?
Yeah. LeBron's always been a better
because
LeBron's always had very good defensive moments. He's always had the chase down block. No one's ever going to forget the Andre Iguodala chase down block that won them the title.
Iconic.
Maybe you could argue that Kyrie Irving's shot won them the title more, but I'm just going to defend LeBron James.
Both had to happen. Both had to happen.
But I don't think that just because he isn't the best defender in the league doesn't mean that he could still be an above average defender.
He doesn't even have those moments. Even just having some moments like that would help the argument. Where
Is
it's
it
like,
just not a moment because they haven't won a ring? Is that your point?
No,
because I think he's had moments in the playoffs where he's had steals. He's had clutch moments.
If let's say, because you did it with the Raptors thing.
Name
put
a
him on
clutch
the
moment
Raptors.
from a team that didn't win a playoff. Like that's the thing.
Well, finish your.
Sorry.
If you would have put James Harden in the situation that the Andre Iguodala block that everyone remembers from LeBron hustled down that court, got the block to where that's why we were like, holy shit, because he was like out of the play and then ran himself into the play. I don't think James Harden would have been that player. He would have been, Clint can do it. I don't think he would have ran him down to
if anyone's making that play, it's going to be Harden over Capella because he's got the speed to catch Andre Iguodala. But even with that, I don't think Harden has the leaping ability and the
I'm counting on
wingspan.
Old man PJ Tucker to do that.
Yeah, I don't think he has the wingspan to do what LeBron does. You're comparing him to the greatest player of my generation. LeBron was, Jordan was Wizard Jordan. You're comparing him to the best player of the generation. That's
you never watched Michael Jordan play. We'll just put it that way.
No.
And again,
I didn't.
I think
was too young.
The point is that if you look back at teams like who came short of a championship, can you picture any of those historic playoff clutch moments? You can't because
Reggie Miller, 6 points in 3 seconds it is?
Yeah, but
they
that's
didn't
not
win
defense.
The final.
Where's the defensive moment? Where's the defensive moment that you're looking for?
He stole the ball in the inbounds.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so that was 23 years ago?
Something like that. It was 94, 95.
Okay, so longer than that.
Yeah.
So in the last
8 points in 18.
Because Michael wasn't in the league that year.
So in the last 25 years, you have to go 25 years back to think of a team that did not win a ring that had a clutch moment in the playoffs.
I mean, off the top of my head.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You remember those moments because of what they led to. You don't remember them on their own. If it happened, there's a million of those moments happen throughout the regular season that no one will ever remember because they're not consequential. If you win a ring, then that's a moment that's like, that is a picture moment of that thing.
They still won that game.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if Reggie Miller did that and they lost the game, I don't know if people would remember it.
That's my point.
T-Max 15 and 27 seconds. Like, they won that game.
Yep.
Like, I don't think there is a moment because you remember it because they won a game. And,
exactly.
And, James Harden, I don't think is that level of defender, but I don't think that makes him less dominant because James Harden also hasn't been in the situation to hit a game-winning shot in the playoffs. But I don't think that's because of James Harden's playing ability. I think it's because of the team that he's been on. But I think if we're talking about if you're drafting a team to win you one game, I don't know if James Harden would be that guy. But if I wanted a guy that could, over 82 games, give me the same performance each and every night at an elite level, I think that James Harden would be my pick because he can go out each and every night and will give you a 95% chance of putting up 40 points per game because he will either get to the line 15 times and he'll probably make a couple and ones and then he'll hit a couple threes. He can get to that 40-point threshold and drop you 8 assists, or Giannis can give you amazing and elite effort on both ends of the floor. But I don't know if you have a defender that can shut him down going to the rim, how
like a Noah
dangerous
Vonleh.
is he? Yeah, like if Noah Vonleh was out there. He's not going to give you that.
He's not.
If he played Noah Vonleh
It's
82
proven.
times, he's not going to beat Noah Vonleh. But I would think that James Harden, his scoring ability over the past 2 years has made him the most dominant player right now in the NBA. And that's just because LeBron is coasting most of the time. And LeBron's coasting to leading the league in rebounding right now. But he is a guy that doesn't have...
It just seems effortless with him. And I think that's part of the problem.
Well, and I also think that it also comes down to, and I know this is a discussion for another day, but what's more important at the end of the day? Is it more important to be the most dominant player, or is it important to, make sure that I'm ready, make sure I'm got enough energy later on in the season? I know LeBron, I feel like, has to deal with it more than James Harden because he's older, but
that's why I'm clarifying
James
why
Harden is 30.
But that's why I'm clarifying. But LeBron's been doing it since he was 18.
Yep.
That's why I'm clarifying that dominant doesn't mean you're better. That's why I said LeBron's still the best. And with that, too, it doesn't mean that being the most dominant means you're the best player, and it doesn't mean that it's going to lead to wins. But you could still be a very dominant player in the sense of you are doing stuff that is changing the game, that is historical, just like Dan Marino was doing in the 80s with passing, just like Drew Brees did with the Saints in the past couple of years. those guys were dominant. Same with Breeze in 2007 when he threw 50 touchdowns, and just like Manning when he threw 55. Those guys were absolutely dominant those years, but that didn't lead to wins.
I got a better
in their career.
comparison for Harden.
Yeah.
Karl Malone. He's going to be the Karl Malone of this
I don't
decade.
like bringing up Karl Malone.
No, like the reason why is I get why you say that, but like you look at Karl Malone and how dominant he was, but when you ask him the one question of would you trade all the accolades, would you trade all the great seasons
Did Malone
for one
change
ring?
The game though? Because I don't think he did.
No,
like
He was the man. Like he was for the big man.
Just because he had a nickname doesn't mean change.
He had
the
a
game.
great point guard.
I feel like he did,
and a
that's the
defense
great-
and an entire system built around feeding the low post.
How did?
yeah, by having like
But that
Dave
did not
just said.
sustain. Like that's the thing is feeding the low post didn't sustain.
And that's the thing is like
he just was
Would
consistent.
he just
changing-
Steve Nash because
like,
is that the D'Antoni connection?
is changing the game the same as most dominant. No, he went out there and he dominated. Like that's why he was one of the best low post basketball players in the 90s. Dominated the low post. But when you ask him,
but he's one of.
Yeah, but would you trade all that in for a ring? He'd said yes. I feel like James Harden is going to be in that same boat where we're going to look at it and go, man, he was a dominant player, the most dominant player. And that's why I would love to fast forward, ask James Harden at the end of his career, would you trade all of it in for one ring to see his answer?
I don't think he would say no. Everyone wants a ring. But even to that point, you said that he's the most dominant player, but you also said he wasn't. So
No. I mean,
he definitely wasn't.
Like he wasn't the most dominant because he played with Michael Jordan.
No, he was never the best player in the league.
No, stop it. You just said that. You said for Harden, like right now he's the most dominant player, but it was just that you just.
No. I'm using it as like you guys say is like 2v1.
Yeah.
Voting, he'd be most dominant. Although I'm.
I already know Jake's
Giannis.
vote. It's LeBron, so
but
it's
like,
2-2.
I look at, but like on the podcast,
Yeah, I know,
Jake's not here. Jake didn't call
I
in.
know.
But I just, with me, it's like, even if we look back at him as the most dominant, I feel like the Karl Malone comparison is going to be what the closest that we get to when it comes to James Harden.
Big yikes. Karl Malone was never the best player in the NBA. Ever.
He's not.
Karl Malone was never a top 5
Harden.
player in the NBA.
Neither is James Harden. LeBron James is the best basketball player in the NBA right now.
You don't think that? Wait, how many MVPs did Karl Malone win? One. And Harden's been top 5 in voting for 4 years now.
How many did he win?
One right now.
I'm just saying.
Karl Malone.
I mean,
Karl Malone has been through his entire career, played until he was 40, and never led the league in scoring. Never had the regular season credentials that James Harden has had, and he's not a scumbag. There's a lot going for him.
Hashtag on the court, Dave.
Hashtag
on the court.
I can't help it. I'm sorry. When you say dominant player in the 90s, Karl Malone is like the 18th name that comes to my mind.
Shaq.
It's Michael Jordan. Shaq. Elijah Wan.
What's his face?
Ewing.
Not the guy that isn't. Chuck, the guy that isn't Tim Duncan. David Robinson.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Karl Malone was never there. Karl Malone had sustained long-term regular season success. Yes, and I get maybe that's where you're drawing your comparison from. But he was never dominant. He was never the same level of contributor that James Harden has been. Like, when I think all-time dominance, it's Michael Jordan and it's Shaq.
But I'm not trying to say that he's...
Forces.
I'm not saying in the comparison that Malone was the most dominant. I'm saying when people look at Malone, he did he was a dominant force down low, and people revere him for what he did on the court. And I feel like at the end of the career, we're going to be looking at the same thing as Harden of, yes, on a grander scale.
Did other teams start playing?
Most dominant. And you're trying, and you're comparing era to era.
Yeah. James Harden impacted his era is what I'm saying. Karl Malone
does
never did
impacting an era mean dominance?
I think that means you're doing something that changes the way people play the game. I would say yes.
The reason why I'm throwing that out the window is I can change the game.
Yep.
Someone can still do it better than me. So just because I changed it doesn't mean I'm dominating. It's what he does on the court in that.
James Harden is able to score at will.
Exactly. He can. But just because he changed the NBA doesn't mean the dominance. It's what he's actually doing that shows the dominance.
I think one doesn't come without the other.
Yeah, but like I said, I can change the NBA and somebody else can do it better than me. Just someone hasn't been able to do it better than him yet. And that's why I throw that out the window of just because you changed it doesn't mean you're dominant.
I disagree with that because if you can't change it, you're still making a change.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
But someone could still do it better than you.
But they couldn't do it better than you unless you did it better than somebody else.
Yes, but someone can still dethrone you is what I'm saying. Where it's like, just because you changed it doesn't mean, like, and maybe that's just me, but
sense.
like...
That doesn't make any sense. Because no one's going to ever be the greatest. Like, I mean, things are, like, I just go back
If someone came along this year and just popped off and did what James Harden was doing better, would you, like, you would say, oh, James Harden ain't the most dominant, this person is. But you wouldn't say that, would you then say, oh, well, James Harden's better because you know what? He changed it. This second guy didn't change it because he's just doing what James Harden did. That's what I'm saying.
We just did that with Giannis.
No, then that's what I'm saying, where it's like, that's why with me, maybe why I see Giannis.
But what I'm saying is, LeBron changed the game for guys that size. I mean,
if you're 6'8" and you can have athleticism and ball handling skills,
you could even make the argument that Magic Johnson did as well. You could say Magic changed it before he did, but it was Magic, then LeBron, and now Giannis is currently doing it. I don't know what player with like Harden did this, and I think maybe the one argument would be AI. I think that's probably the best comp for him is better than Karl Malone because you have a one-time MVP a guy who won an MVP once, a guy that was a multiple-time scoring champ, a guy that was absolutely dominant. He wasn't really a point guard; he was more of a shooting guard. A guy that played a ton of ISO, could get to the bucket as any times that he wanted. Obviously had a different career path because he started off and blew up pretty much right away, and then trailed off where Harden has been building up more to this. Typically, when we start slow start to your career and then building up to your peak. I would think that he's probably closer to AI, at least in that sense, better than Karl Malone. But I think
better peak Gilbert Arenas.
No. Gilbert Arenas didn't win an MVP.
No, I'm just saying, like, if we're just drawing, like, these, conclusions, I'm just saying.
I guess. I think that you could still change the game, though, because for you to change the game, someone else then has to
follow you.
Well.
The whole point is someone's going to follow you because you've changed the way the game's played.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like you need somebody to lead the path, pretty much.
And that's what I think he's done.
And if Muhammad Ali wasn't changing the game, then Jackie Robinson changed the game, then Muhammad Ali couldn't change the game. Bill Russell couldn't change the game. And then if Bill Russell didn't change the game, then LeBron couldn't change the game. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to follow, and someone needs to make a change before you can make a change to that change. It's just
the game's evolving.
It's cyclical.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say I think that's a bad example because it's just that's not all about on the court. That is something totally different.
I know, but I'm just trying to think of something that was easier in my
they
head. Changed
culture, which is different than changing the play on the game.
Beard caught on? No, I'm fucking you.
Oh, God.
Technically, Brian Wilson did it first. Fear the beard.
Who?
Brian Wilson, closer for the Giants. Fear the beard.
I was thinking Beach Boys. Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson.
Just like Pearl Jam said, it's evolution, baby. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. This was a segment, and it was long. So thanks for listening. Well, let's jump into the final segment. I teased the Timberwolves talk, and we will talk Timberwolves at some point. We're gonna change it because I said last week that it was too early to talk playoffs, and we're gonna talk Timberwolves to the playoffs. So let's not do that.
Omaha. We're calling that
audible.
defense.
I want to apologize to Easy Wins in our Discord. He is a very passionate Knicks fan.
And he was there for that watch session for the Bulls-Knicks game.
Yeah.
He left quickly.
I appreciate.
It was fun while he was there, though.
Knicks fans more. I think they've gone through a lot.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I think Easy's passion for the Knicks has shown that. It probably isn't easy to be a Knicks fan, and I don't think James Dolan likes being the Knicks owner because he forced Scott Perry to go out in front of the media and say, we're better than this, we should show more passion, we gotta hustle more, this isn't who we are, even though they're 3-9 and no one really expected them to make the playoffs. And it was just kind of seemed like a bus tossing after the 108-87 loss against the Cavs, and they went out and lost 120-102 to the Bulls. It seemed like a bus toss from Scott Perry, and it seemed like they were tossing Fizdale under the bus. And it felt like they were going to fire him soon, but it didn't happen, hasn't happened yet. It might happen at some point, so we'll talk about, will the Knicks fire David Fizdale mid-season this year? I'll go to Ricky first. Do you think Fizdale will be the coach of the Knicks at the end of the 82nd game of the 2019-2020 season?
So before I give my answer, the reports were that they never gave a deadline, but it's that they're paving the way to possibly do it this season. I wouldn't. I would not fire him mid-season because here's the thing I think of with the Knicks. How does it help the team? Does firing David Fizdale magically make the Knicks better? No, makes them worse, which
Does it?
I mean, it might not make them worse.
That's my question is, does it make them worse?
I mean, they're still the worst team in the NBA because the Warriors are injured. That's why I'm saying that.
Okay.
The only reason but the only reason the Warriors are down there is because both of their star players are hurt. But I mean, I don't think it helps them. Like, and when will this organization get the memo that, hey, naming a guy a head coach for 4 years and then getting rid of him after 2 probably isn't the best way to build up a team, build up an organization.
But
unless you're saying you're making the wrong
to sign unless you give them that long-term contract sometimes. I mean, I feel like they're put in that situation because that is the state of the NBA. Like, a head coach is a hot commodity, and the good ones you want to lock up long-term. And Fizdale seemed to have some positivity around his name. He had potential. He got the LeBron, gold stamp of approval. He had a little bit of time in Memphis then. You figure a little seasoning. But you know what? You're not going to get a head coach on a 2-year deal, on a prove-it deal, because they're hot names. And every year there's always a couple teams desperate for a head coach. So I feel like because of the turnover, because of that demand, you do have to give them these kind of contracts. Now, I agree with you that firing a head coach every 2 years does not exactly, make sure that, come join the Knicks in free agency. We're building something special. Like, which time? Like that time 2 years ago, that time 2 years before that, a time before that. Like, that's the frustration is because you figure every head coach has their own, like, this is what I'm bringing to the team. This is the direction we're going to take this team in. Fizdale, we were all like, what was Fizdale known for? His defense. This guy was a defensive genius. He understood how to get the most out of his guys, put them in the right positions to play defense. Unfortunately, there are two sides to a basketball game. There's also that offensive thing. And I feel like that's where it's been most apparent the struggles have come from because they have a young team and they keep, adding some veterans, but right now they add in a bunch of bigs or 3, 4, 5s if you want to be specific about it. And their offensive game plan has been very inconsistent and really poorly run. They've looked lost at times. They don't have that go-to answer for a lot of the time that he's been there. And they've got a bunch of young talent. Maybe Fizdale's just not a great head coach. And I've been a big guy saying Fizdale is the absolute worst head coach in the NBA.
What's the opposite of a stan? A hater? Is
hater.
that it?
I believe I'd be a Fizdale hater. He's a great assistant coach. He can get your guys on the right half of the court. But when
it seems like players like him.
It seems like some players like him. I remember some veterans not so happy with him. During Memphis
at least seems like these Knicks players like him.
Yeah, I don't know if they outright hate him yet.
Those Memphis players are soft. I can say that now because they're not on the team anymore. So Nick won't get mad at
Marc Gasol, so soft.
Well, they were mentally. They were soft. That Fizdale wanted grit and grind and.
That's
what was the big thing? What was the not grit and grind? It was take that for data.
Yeah. Take that for data was a great line. That's so good.
That's the best thing he's done in his coaching career.
Point being, I think that removing him from this team is in their best interest because they do need someone who can work with young talent and get them going on the right step. This is a team with R.J. Barrett, number 3 pick in the NBA draft. Guy is super talented. He has all these skills of that mid-sized wing guard where it's like, dude can kind of do it all. He's a great rebounder. He can facilitate. He can shoot. It's just he's putting it all together, and you want someone there to help build that. You look at their last couple of draft picks, and Mitchell Robinson was a second-round steal that we was like, this guy's uber talented. He just didn't have a college career, and he's been great defensively. And that's what you want because you're David Fizdale. You've got a 7-footer who's great defensively. But offensively, and the other piece of his growth, lacking. My boy Frankie has been killing me because he's someone whose career has been marred with bad coaching and lack of opportunity. And when you don't have a head coach who can grow young talent, you don't build a future. You look at the Raptors, and the one thing they've had consistently is development. They have been a team who has used their G League successfully, who's used their NBA team to build up talent and get them to the point where they can be serious contributors or even more. And you look at the Knicks, and you're like, man, this team runs through fucking talent like there's nobody's business, and they seem to keep missing.
I want people to go out and check NBAmathout.com or NBA Mathout on Twitter. They have total points added graphs, and the last one they put out for the Knicks, they have a median line, and if you're over that median, you're above average, right? So and that median line, so like if you're a crazy great defender but not that good of a scorer, you could still be it by how good of a defender you are because you're still a positive of your team. Or you could be a crazy great scorer, a la Lou Williams, but be a garbage defender and still be on that median line.
Yep.
The guys that are able to add great offensive points and then great defensive points are going to be well above average. The only player well above average right now is Mitchell Robinson. He's at like 10 offensive points added and then about 10 defensive points added. That's both negative. Yep. You're in the positive. And then there's one guy that is great defensively and then horrible offensively. Frank Ntilikina.
Yep.
And then everyone else is either below average and bad. Kevin Knox is a little bit above on the offensive side, and that's about it. And Elfrid Payton's a little bit there defensively. But this team just doesn't have, the talent, but I don't think the talent's also being used correctly.
Yeah.
And it's weird that I agree and disagree with what Scott Mills said and did. On November 10th, he said, we feel like this is a given. This is our 10th game. We felt that we had an obligation to come and speak to the media. Obviously, Scott and I are not happy with where we are right now. We think this team is not performing to the level that we anticipated or we expect to perform at all, and that's something that we think collectively we have to do a better job of delivering the product on the floor that we would do at the start of the season. So, and then he said we believe in the coaching staff. We believe Scott and I put together the players and we assembled, but we also have to acknowledge that we haven't played the level that we expected. I think that a change at coach would do them good. And I think the spot that I would use it in would be the team that we were going to talk about in the T-Wolves. Tom Thibodeau is very much militant. We're going to play defense. We're going to hustle. We're going to be hard.
RJ Barrett would never play.
We're going to beat the shit out of you. Like, we're going to mentally break you. And I feel like Fizdale's in that area of, we're going to hustle hard. We're going to have great fundamentals, kind of the Jim Boylan way. And then you see the change to Ryan Saunders and the T-Wolves, and this team opens up. I think this team needs to be opened up a bit. And I think they have talent to do that. Dennis Smith Jr. isn't as bad as he's been playing. Alonzo Trier is better than he's been playing. Kevin Knox is better than he's been playing. RJ Barrett's better than he's playing. Frank Ntilikina is better than he's playing. I think you could weirdly even say that for Mitchell Robinson, too. I think that he could probably, if those guys are playing better, it's just going to make his job easier.
Yeah.
And I think that Fizdale is just too much of an old-style coach. And I think they need just new blood in there. I don't think this team is a playoff team with a new coach. I think they still need more growth from their players, and they still need to get a little bit older. They still need better veterans on this team. They still need a more cohesive roster when you have Taj Gibson, Bobby Portis, Marcus Morris, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. It's a lot of bigs there. They don't have great guard play. They don't have great wing play. They have a lot of good, 4s and 5s. They don't have a lot of good, wings and points. I think changes need to be made to this roster, but I think the biggest thing that would help this team and even progress them to probably the point that Scott Mills and Scott Perry want, or Steve Mills and Scott Perry want, is a change at the coach. I think they need to take a step into a place that's going to give them space offensively, be able to push the tempo up a little bit, because their defense, I think, can be decent with the players that they have, mainly Frank Ntilikina and Mitchell Robinson. Those two guys can create turnovers, and that can lead to offensive transitional points. And I don't think they have that in their game right now. And I think that's going to be a change at coaching. You said Ricky, but I think I agree with Dave when it comes to at least I think that Fizdale would be a very good assistant coach. I think he knows basketball. I just don't think that his system and the way he runs his offense is most beneficial to young players.
You're being distracted, though. And the reason why I'm saying you're being distracted is I don't think Fizdale is the problem with the Knicks. Is Fizdale perfect? No.
If you're going to say James Dolan, I'm not arguing.
No. I feel like Steve Mills should be canned. Should have been out of here.
What has Steve Mills done?
Nothing. And that's the thing. He's taken the job since 2013. Here's the coaches that they've gone through in his time. 2 years with, technically, a year and a half with Mike Woodson. He moves on from him. Not my guy. Okay. Who's the guy he brings in? Derek Fisher. How did that work out?
That was not.
Yeah, how did that work out?
That was not as much him.
I remember doing
Jackson,
a video when we were the Onside Kick channel before we even knew Sean about how maybe this is good things for the Knicks. It wasn't.
Didn't that line up though with a Phil Jackson president of operations shit?
Because that was then he drafted Kristaps in 15.
Yeah.
Derek Fisher only lasted technically 3 years. He was out in 16. Kurt Rambis took over for about 28 games. Then they signed Jeff Hornacek.
Yep.
Hornacek only lasts 2 years before he's out. Now Fizdale kind of seems going to be the same thing. 2018 by 2020, he's gone. And the whole reason why you look at articles around New York press and their headlines like, the Knicks are doing the same thing. Fail, find the fall guy, repeat. That to me falls on your guy in Steve Mills, your vice president of operations, because, Perry's been in here, but Perry hasn't been in here a long time. 2017 is when they hired him, so he isn't at exactly the longest time.
Fizdale's at 18 months.
And looking at the draft history for the Knicks, since Mills took over, and yes, I'm putting it on him because he helps hire the GMs. In 2013, they took Tim Hardaway. Then 2014, I kind of want to give them a pass because that was their first round pick was given to, I think it was Denver. Then it was given to Philly because they got Carmelo Anthony that year. So it's kind of like, okay, you got Melo. I'm not going to blame you for not having a first round pick. Then Kristaps, which they all booed him, but he ended up being a great player.
But that's Phil. So the picks that he's had was 2018. That's when he took over as president. And that's when Scott Perry.
I'm saying Steve Mills.
No,
like Steve Mills has set those guys up to then make those decisions.
No, but Steve Mills was the vice president under Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was making the calls on Kristaps and everything. Once Phil got ousted, they took over July 14th, 2017.
Okay.
So then that's when Perry was put in, and that's when Mills was put in.
So
that was
then you had
post
Frank,
26. No, that was
Knox,
post 7 because the draft happens in June. So they took over in 2018 and 2019. So Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, and Kyle Guy. Those are the four guys of theirs. I don't think those
Kyle
are bad
Guy,
guys.
I don't even think he's on. He's not even on the Knicks anymore,
he was
right?
traded to Sacramento.
Okay.
But those were the picks that they had.
Yep.
The thing that I think about is like the biggest problem with the Knicks too is this is on the court. Is even watching them 2 games against the Bulls.
Yep.
They need shooting. So what do you do this offseason? And this is not a coach's thing. You sign 4 power forwards. Like, to me, it's like you can blame the coach as much as you want. David Fizdale's the fall guy right now. Any coach that was in here that's maybe not Steve Kerr, not Mike D'Antoni, not one of the top coaches. I don't even think if they could do a good job with this Knicks team.
I think they could.
Like that, like
100%.
They'd be better than they are now, but they wouldn't be a champion.
Look at a team, and it's not apples to apples, but we talked about a team earlier today, and they're fun to watch. They're exciting. They're young. They're not very good at basketball. But the Charlotte Hornets, they're a team who moved on from their star in Kemba Walker, who, I get it, Kemba's not Carmelo Anthony, but like that was their guy. They moved on from him. And look what they're doing right now with a competent head coach, with young talent, with fun pieces. They scrap the books and they move forward. And I think that the Knicks never really hit the full rebuild button. Like, they were bad at basketball, yes, but they never fully reset. And this is
because they've got the pressure from the Mecca being
exactly.
New York.
And I think that's the thing is they went after and failed in free agency this offseason, which fine, but they signed those deals. They signed 4 guys who are all, Marooks can play the 3 a little bit, but really it's you got Julius Randle, who good offensive player, yes. You got Bobby Portis, good offensive big, cool. And then you got Taj, who is a supplemental bench 4. Like, he's a great rebounder. That's about it at this point in his career. And I think that none of those moves were long-term moves. They were just like, we have money to spend. Maybe we can take these short-term contracts and look to flip them in the future. They're not going to do us any damage, but they're also not helping build the culture in this roster, I think, is the problem. When I look at their team, it's like, how do you have, Dennis Smith Jr., Frank out there, you have even Alonzo Trier, you have, what's the third one? Alfred Payton. Like, you've got a bunch of guys under the age of 26 who play guard for you, and you can't find a way to get them out there, to get them consistent minutes, get them consistent play, and get the most out of them. I think that the struggles of the short leash, the struggles of I know injuries have also come into this because all of those guys have struggled with them, but it's the frustration of there's no consistent play, there's no consistent answer. I talked about this last year with the New York Knicks were just a trash team of iso ball. Like, that was their offensive game plan was one guy takes the ball and then good luck. And that was the answer. And it really sucked to watch. And I think the fact that they never developed an offensive system, they never figured out their playing style, really hurt them. And this year, they're depending so much on Marquise Morris and Julius Randle.
Do you think it was also because they're banking on guys like a Kevin Durant to finally want to come to New York?
But that's the thing. You can have your hopes and dreams on somebody, but if you're not,
there's no plan B.
If you're not keeping the fires running, if you're not keeping reloading on young talent and working on building up those guys, then you're not going to get them to come there because it's why would they want to be on that team just because your name is the Knicks?
And that's why I don't want to say he's not at fault because like he hasn't been good, but like with Fizdale, that's why I'm going to use a grave because technically he's digging his own grave here in New York. It's like, here, dig your own grave, but he's doing it with a garden shovel. A spoon. I was going to say a spoon, but then I'm like, you know what? RJ Barrett and them, I want to give them a little more credit. It's like a gardening shovel. It's like, here, win a championship, dig this hole, but you're not giving them an actual shovel to do it with.
I think you can make the argument that the roster could be better, and obviously we bashed their free agent signings. The fact that they signed 4 power forwards this offseason. That was something that I think they didn't sign bad guys. Julius Randle, Marcus Morris, those guys are good players. Bobby Portis is fine.
He's a bench scorer.
Taj Gibson's old. But that's pretty much it.
He's a good locker room guy.
Yeah.
There was the one thing, but still.
So I think that who's more at fault for the fact that they're 3-9 this year, I think that falls on Fizdale. The fact that they wouldn't be a playoff team this year, I think that's more on Mills and Perry.
Agreed.
However, it's only been 2 years of their tenure. Yep. It's not like the Bulls where, they've been in Garpax has been in power for 18 years?
Almost?
Yeah, 20 years now, and we haven't seen consistency out there. Right now, I would say that the play on the floor out there for the Bulls is more on Boylen because there is no consistent rhetoric. He's always off the wall. He's always saying they're playing well, and they're not. I don't think that Jim Boylen's clicking with the Bulls right now. They have the talent, and I think this team would be better. But I don't think the on-court product is on Garpax right now. But the past 20 years have been on Garpax.
But I
think that's where we are at in the situation. I think Mills and Perry deserve more time. I don't think Fizdale does.
The thing that's different too is the Bulls have played teams, especially in those first 10, that were definitely winnable. Cleveland, Charlotte, New York. We lost against. I'm mixing one. Who did we play? Right before Toronto, we played somebody else. But you look at the Knicks, their games have been San Antonio, better team. Nets, better team. Celtics, better team. The Bulls, right in their alley. They beat the Bulls in New York. Orlando, Magic are better. Boston's better. The Kings haven't been playing well. Maybe you can say they should have beat the Kings. The Grizzlies, that's right.
Yeah.
We beat the Grizzlies, though. We won that game.
Yeah, one time. 1 or 2.
But the Kings, you can say maybe they should get a win there. Maybe they should have beat Detroit because Detroit hasn't been too hot to start the year.
Because they've been unhealthy.
Dallas, better team than New York. And then like Cleveland, Chicago, that's 4 wins with Cleveland, Chicago. I say maybe you can fight that, you should have won those games. 4 wins? You should be 5? But 5 and 4 instead of 3 and 9.
But should they have lost to what's it called? Orlando by 12? No. Should they have lost to Sacramento by 21? No. Should they have lost to Detroit by 20? No. Should they have lost to Cleveland by 21? No. Should they have lost to Chicago by 18? No. They could have been more competitive in those games. And the fact that their wins are coming by 7, they're coming by 4, they're coming by 3. They're barely eking out these games.
I'll tell you, as a Bulls fan, it doesn't feel better when you lose close. When you have a lead in the first half and then you lose close in the second half.
It's the product you're putting out on the court, and I think that's what matters. Is they've got young talent and they've got veteran bigs. Like that's what this team construction is, and the fact that they can't run an offense out there is what's killing them. And I put that blame solely on Fizdale. That's why I'm all in on Fizdale needs to be removed from the team because the longer he's there, the more time he could be slowing down young player development. RJ Barrett, again, oozing with talent. This kid was, for good reason, one of the top players in his high school class, going to college. Zion surprised all of us and fucking leaped. John Morant surprised everybody but me. No, I'm just fucking with you. But he has so much talent and he can, he can maybe in the future run an offense. And that's a great thing. But right now, what we're seeing is not that. What we're seeing is almost as similar to what he did in college. And you like him to take a step. You like the coach in the NBA to help develop the players. And it doesn't seem like Scott Fizdale. Jesus. Scott Fizdale
Perry.
Yep. Just throw all their names in one bucket. Doesn't seem like Fizdale is really contributing much. And that's why I think he needs to be gone. I think the timing has been the most interesting part about this because they made a statement 3 days ago while we're recording this about, the path being cleared for the removal.
Yeah.
And then you look at their schedule like, oh, they got like 2 games and then it's murderer's row. Like there's a good chance they could go like 3 weeks against teams who all have winning records who it would be very hard for them, not impossible, very hard for them to get a win against some of these teams. So you're like, all right, maybe they'll find a soft point in their scheduling where they do have some worse teams coming up, and that's when you pull the trigger. So that way the new head coach doesn't come in and all you eat is negativity because loss after loss after loss. Who that guy is, to me, is a big question because do you go with an interim guy and then you wait until this offseason to get your guy?
If you fire him mid-season, one of the assistants becomes the head coach, finishes out the year.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like a T.O. situation because Ryan Saunders was already on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
So I would have to look at the coaching staff right now. They don't list it. Awesome. Fucking love it. New York Knicks coaching staff. Sorry, I don't know all their 9 coaches off the top of my head. It's front office. God damn it. Love live podcasting.
We're going to be truly live sooner rather than
assistant
later.
coaches are Keith Smart, Caleb Canellis, Judd Buechler. I can't pronounce his name. Sorry.
Judd Buechler.
Buechler's right. You were right.
No, it's Buechler.
It's not Buechler, I don't think.
Pat Sullivan, Royal Ivy, and Mike Miller.
Isn't it Judd Buechler?
No, it's Judd Buechler. I know that for a fact. It's Buechler.
Wasn't Judd Buechler a former player?
Yes. That's why I think I'm positive when I say it.
So those are the assistant coaches.
No, hold on. Let's make sure this isn't the same Judd Buechler.
Buechler.
Say it again.
Buechler.
Spell it.
Buechler.
So Judd
Buechler.
Yeah, he played for the Pistons in 99. He played for the Bulls in 94, 98.
Judd's currently an assistant coach. Same
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Were you saying that?
No, it's the pronunciation. You guys are
the
arguing
last
over
name.
pronunciation.
Buechler. That's why I know, because he was a Bull. Judd Buechler.
That was Buechler. I'm pretty sure it's Buechler.
There's a C in there. Buechler.
I think it's a French thing.
All right. Well, you guys let us know. Knicks fans,
I'm going to look it up on YouTube after
hook
this.
us up. But yeah,
Fuck it. Make Judd the head coach.
with that,
Screw it.
with that
Fuck this
staffing, with that staffing, like, yeah, you can give it to one of them. That's fine. But like, I don't think that anyone in that team, anyone in that group of assistant coaches, screams future long-term head coach.
I would agree with that. Mike Miller is on that coaching staff as well. So
You're right. Basketball
it.
Reference says Buechler. I thought it was Buechler. I was wrong.
Told you, my guy. Yeah, Mike Miller's on that staff. So maybe him. That'd be interesting. Shout out Mike Miller without the shoe. I don't know any of the other guys outside of that besides Judd Buechler. And
Buechler. Bush and then Ler. Buechler.
Maybe Caleb Canellis. He was a guy with Portland. He was the interim head coach as well. He's a younger guy. He's 41. Maybe that would be the play there. I don't know. He also coached under my guy Rick Carlisle.
By the way, that Mike Miller is not that Mike Miller.
It's not?
No.
Okay. That would be a good addition. They should add Mike Miller. Anyways, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. I think Fizdale should be moved because I think this team could be better than what they are. But I don't think they're going to be a playoff team because of what Miller and Perry have done.
But is he removed mid-season? I'm going to say nope. Finish out the year, and then they probably will make a move from Fizdale.
If they make a move, it'll be pre-December. If he stays if he's there January, he'll stay for the rest of the year. If he's there, if he's fired, it's going to be
Before January.
Pre-January.
So I
New
will
Year's
say,
the line in sand.
I will say he's fired.
Fired.
I think he's fired. Do you think he's fired, Dave?
Yeah, I think he's fired.
Dave's
When?
like, it is decided.
Yep.
When?
I'm with you. I haven't looked at their full schedule for that soft spot of games, but that's when you'll see it.
Okay.
I'm going to go
December
with
11th.
somewhere around December 11th looks good.
Why?
Because that's after the murderous row.
Then you go Golden State, Sacramento, Denver, Atlanta, Miami, who is a tough team, but like Milwaukee, then Washington. You've got some games in there that are very winnable.
I got my call. It's gonna be so
yeah. There's
it's a good area. I think it would be post a home game because I don't think they could fire him on that road trip, that Trailblazers, Warriors, King Nugget road trip. I don't think he could do it there. So it would either have to be the 17th or the 7th. What a Christmas gift that would be 17th. If they fired him after the Wizards game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. If they lose to the Warriors though on that 11th, If they lose to the Warriors, though, on the 11th, that would be a fireable offense because
Would it, though?
D'Lo,
Would it, though?
D'Lo is out for 2 weeks now. So right now they currently have 9 active players. 8 is the minimum to field an NBA team.
Hey, man, at this point, tank to the top, baby, because no matter what, the league's going to give the pick to the Warriors.
Let us know your thoughts down below. I think that Fizdale is causing a little bit of this trouble in New York, but let us know what you think down in the comments below. We know Knicks fans are very vocal. We'd love to hear from you, so give us your thoughts, but that's going to do it for the podcast. If you want to help us out, check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But for Dave Oster and Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you next time.